Hāpai, kia ora mai tātou te whānau, ko huhu mai nei I tēnei Toi Ako kaupapa I tēnei wā. Tuatahi e mihi atu ana ki a tātou e huhu mai nei. O tira e mihi atu ana ki te matua nui te rangi, koe te timatanga me te whakamutunga o ngā mea katoa. Te whakaaro ki a tātou katoa I tēnei wā taumaha me ki, e mihi atu ana ki a tātou. Toi tangata, feel very privileged to be able to provide a kaupapa where we can continue to have our wānanga space. So I'd like to welcome everyone to our Toi Ako Webinar series again. We've had consistent kaupapa on throughout this rahui period, and we're really looking forward to sharing this Akka kaupapa with you and having our pau whenua and our manukura here, matua piripi menehira, rawa ko Justin Gush, mihi atu ana kia korua tahi. Te mea tuatahi whānau mā, just before we get started, just like to let everyone know how our webinar system sort of works. So you'll see the panels down the bottom that will allow you to ask a few pātai and communicate with the kai kōrero I tēnei wā. So their faces and my face, unfortunately, are the kanohi that you guys have to watch over the next hour or so. But you have the ability to communicate via the chat box in the Q&A section. So mehe mehe pātai, if you have any questions, fire them away, and I'll be the one to ask them to Justin and Matua Piripi as they're going through their kōrero. If there are any comments as well, you can use the chat box to go through that. And this kaupapa will also be made available on our website post the webinar this evening as well. Engari I runga I tērā, tēnei uri o Waikato o Ngāti Tamatera, o tira o Ngāpuhi mihi atu ana kia tātou, kia korua tahi ngā kai kōrero. Ka tukuna te rākau kōrero kia korua tahi nai nei. Kia koe te wā e hoa, Justin?
Kia ora tātou, tēnā koe e hoa. Tuatahi ko waia hau e kōrero nei. He uri mokopuna hau no te awa tupua Wanganui. No ngā iwi o ngā wairiki Ngāti Apa ki rangi tikei. No ngā puhi anō hoki. No reira, toko toru oku tamariki. Ai e noho ana hau ki te taha o tō tātou awa tupua Wanganui. He kaupakahaere hau I tēnei wā mō te runanga o ngā wairiki Ngāti Apa. No reira, he manukura hau mō tēnei kaupapa ko te aka. No reira, tēnā tātou. Just wanted to shout out to you, Brother Dario, to the kaupapa of Toi Tangata for laying the foundation and providing the platform for us to share this kaupapa tonight. It's definitely an honour and a privilege to speak and share our taonga Akka with the motu and with the world. So this is kind of a new space Akka's venturing into. So like I say, it's definitely a privilege to be here. And mihi tō the whānau tuned in tonight. Appreciate all the support. And that's me for now. Kei a koe matua piripi.
Ai, tēnā koutou katoa. Katoa I runga te tau ihi o tāku waka tūpuna I a Aotea, utanga nui mo te kai e te kōrero. Ka rere hari au ki te tihi a pare te taitonga rungarua pehu maunga ko matua te mana. Mihi kau atu ki Ngāti Rangi Tuhia, Ngāti Rangi Te Auria, ua nuku mana wāwiri a tamahake hei. A hoa tai ana I a au ki ngā uru oi ko matua te pononga ngāmi. Tiro aku kamu, tiro ake ki a matua totoa ko tongorero tēnā. Kaua kauhiti atu I au nei, mihi kau atu ki taupō nui a tia. Ngāti tūari toa te aroa nui tonu. Ngā karanga maha tangata tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Ka uri. Ka tiro I ora rā, e kite I au nei ngā awa ērua, ara ko Waikato ērere, kai reira rā, tō kōrero. Ki tēnei taha, ko te awa o Wanganui, ka ruku hia au nei nā, ka rere haere au I roto te iwi o te ati au nui a pāparangi, ko te wainui ārua, taia au ki tako nei apu, ko ngā tiau. Tu ana au ki te tihi o te puke a pukihika, karere ari au ki te tihi o te wari wānanga a upoko tau ake ko te wari wānanga o Ngāti Hau. Ka mihi atu ki rātau rā kua huri ki tua te arai no reira aere, aere, aere. A ruku ruku au ki roto te awa a mi i kau atu ki ngā hini ngākau tama upoko tai atu ia au nei ki tūpoho kai reira rā I tū mai au I runga te rā kirikiri o te kai au o kupe mihi kau atu ki maunga taranaki e tū mai rā. Ara no reira huri no, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. A ko piripi menehira tēnei, mihi atu ki a koutou rā, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou te kai waka haere, mo tēnei waka āhua te toi Māori, no reira he mihi tēnā atu ki a koe o ki Justin, tēnā ki atu. E tika ana e tautuka ngā kurero I ua I au nenga, e pāna ki tō tātenei taonga ko te aka. Te rape ko te tuatahi mihi o ki atu ki tō tātenei matua, tō tātenei rangatira, tō tātenei kore eke, te rangi tihi, te rangi waiata tau pārai, kia te nunga o mātou, ko JT, ko John Tahu, ko Uncle, no reira he mihi tēnei atu ki eia nāna I waka riti tēnei mō mātou tātou katoa. No reira rā, kōrero mai.
Kia ora.
Kia koe te wai, Justin.
Hāpai. Kia ora. Ngā mihi ki koutou. So, just wanted to get straight into our kōrero around Akka. I think it's been a big part of my life, definitely growing up here in Whanganui, and I know it's been a huge part of Matua Piripi's life, and this is what we're about to explore tonight, and yeah, kind of unpack a little bit more around what Akka is, what it's all about, where it's come from, and maybe talk about where we can see it heading into the future. So just wanted to start, the name of this, Te Hauora Tangata, is the name of a ruruku, really specific and written for Akka, and it's basically encompassing our health and fitness on all levels of wairua, hinengaro, me te tinana, me te whānau whānui anō hoki, no reira, and I just want to mihi to our my cousin TA Ranginui. You'll see on our presentation, and Matua Piripi's got a top on tonight with the tohu. He drew back in the 90s, an original tohu that our kazi drew for Matua back in the day. So just wanted to acknowledge the cousin TA, because his art is going to be a big part of our presentation. So just heading into some of the things that we've kind of lined up to talk about tonight. We might get into everything, we might not. We'll see how the kōrero goes and flows. Pātai mai e te whānau. If you feel things popping up through the kōrero and want to dive a little deeper, yep, ask those pātai, and yeah, we see where we can go from there. So mihi, yep, we've had our intros. Matua Piripi touched on korotahu just a little bit there, so once I hand it back to him, I'd like for him to kind of talk about his experience growing up with and his time with korotahu, and that whole martial arts space that Uncle Piripi's been such a big part of. E Akka ko wai koe is a bit of a kōrero on what Akka actually is and where it's originated from. Ngā tūranga, whakarohe is there. Ngā tūranga talking about the various positions, I suppose, or the rankings even, in the Akka space. Ngā tikanga whakahaere, or ngā ture. Just how the Akka system and program works, what it's all about, the type of process that we go through. And if you've been following the live sessions during the rāhui, we've slowly been unpacking that and explaining that a little bit too. And if we have time, you know, ngā ture, of course, like any martial arts class or any forum, even in the sports space, any type of space, there's always some guidelines to help us, I suppose, reach our full potential while we're in those spaces. Ngā tūnga, ngā te Hāpai atu, which is all about our stances and the actual Māori martial arts space. And we'll see how our kōrero flows in terms of that. And then just a bit about the current day, how we've still been able to access the teachings and learnings of Akka today for our own health and well-being, our own healing, and then sharing that out with whānau, friends, and now the motu. And hopefully we get to talk a little bit about what we can see into the future. So that's just a bit of a breakdown, whānau, of how we see this kōrero going. I just wanted to, before I hand it over to you, Uncle Piripi, I just want to acknowledge a lot of those original Akka experts from back in the day. And I'm sure within your kōrero, you're able to name a few as well. I just wanted to acknowledge Uncle Gerard Albert, who put a lot of time and effort into developing some of the philosophy behind Akka. And just a bit of a quote here of his in an interview I had with him a few years back. And regarding Akka, he said, he taonga tēnei āhuatanga, ko Akka, ko koe, ko au, ko tātou. No te kauru o te rangi tēnei kaupapa, no ngā ware wānanga o tātou mātua. So he was saying Akka is everything that we are. Its intent was to capture the essence of our origins as people, from the very depths of our understanding of our cosmology and relating to our houses of learning and the taonga our old people left us. So for me, that kind of encompasses a lot of what Akka actually is. And we've got a lot of kōrero and mātauranga Māori that really has shaped Akka into what it is today. So from there, I think I'll hand it over to you, Uncle.
Tēnā koe. Aira, tēnā koe Justin, tō akamaramati ki tātou nei. Nō reira, huri no. Tērā peka huri au ki te mihi atu kōrera te pāne ki tō tātou nei. Matua, pāpā, rangatira, tahu parai. So I guess I better huri au ki te reo paraua. Kei ta ngaro haere tako nei kōrero. So 1974 was the year I was only a young 14 and a half, 15-year-old, moving to the big lights, Wellington. And part of that little journey was while living and staying in Wellington, Wagetown, Ahumairangi Māori Boys Hostel, all the guys just said, we're all going to martial arts. So I just asked the question, what's the style? They didn't know. Who's the instructors? They didn't know. And in my mind, I went, oh, they're only beginners. So anyway, I followed, I grabbed my gi. They didn't know I'd already done 3 years of martial arts in a little place called Ohakuni, where I grew up. And I just followed them, and we got to Wallace Street in Wellington and went into the YMCA and down the bottom there, and there was a big dojo there, training hall, Hore Wakatauta. And I stood at the back of all the guys, and as they all walked in, I realized, oh, they are beginners. No one took their shoes off, and no one greeted. So I was the last, and when I got there, with a big, mighty voice, I just went, "Ush," which in Japanese back in those days was the proper way to walk into a dojo, to greet nice and loud. And two of these guys turned around, and, well, the first one was my cousin, the late Charles Tūkotahi Māraikura. Well, he come walking over, and then the other guy come over, and that was my other cousin, the late Noel Akapita. Well, so we shook hands in hongi, and they said, come and meet Uncle. And I said, who? They said, Uncle Tahu. All I saw was this short, dark man in a red gi with a black belt. And I went up, and his first words was, ko wai o matua. I look at Charles and goes, what did he say? You have to remember, I'm only 14 and a half, going on 15, and I didn't even know te reo Māori, tikanga Māori, and all those things. My genius, how embarrassing. And I said, what did he say? He said, who are your parents? So I just said, oh, Huri Anō and Joan Minihira. And this is how I met Uncle Tahu. Oh, your bulldog son. And that was it. So that's how I met him, where I met him. And all I knew in my young days was martial arts. I was training in 2 clubs. One club being Budokan, which was also Kaiakushin Kaikan. And with the name of the club back in the 70s was Hāpai. And Uncle Tahu was he was taught by a chap by the name of David Shed. So we're going backwards now. We're going backwards, way back in the 60s. In the middle 60s, going into well, even before the end of the 60s, his senior instructor was killed in a car crash. So Uncle Tahu was, he had the grade of what they call sifu, which in martial arts terms is equivalent to a second dan. So yes, a second dan in the style of Hāpai. Sometimes Sam get angry, 10 cent pie. But anyway, moving on. I trained and studied with both clubs while in Wellington. When it came to competitions like it is, you really had to say who you're fighting for. And Uncle Tahu, he had his own strategic planning how to train up his toa. Back in those days. So now we're talking about the training or the type of training that he had. So the majority of the club was Polynesian. I have to be pretty much 98% were Polynesian. And a lot, some were those that were trying to get out of the gangs back then in the early, in the early 70s. I'm talking about Black Power, I'm talking about Mongrel Mob, I'm talking about just gangs. So why was that? I remember hearing some of them saying that you were allowed to fight in the ring and you wouldn't go to jail because it was all organized and planned. However, the years moved on, and what I could also see, as young as I was, a word that I will catch 10 years later, which was whanaungatanga. and whānau whānui, and especially for those that came from the country, those that came in and were trying to give it a go in the city, going into those, back then they were called pre-employment courses for us young men and young women, and looking for job opportunities. And this was a place to go and hang out with all your kazi bros. Go to Te Hāpai. That's where you'll meet a guy called Tahu. And then the other part that he was also part of was the Ngā Kārere Kapahaka group, which was tied up with what we call the Hui Aranga. That particular group, Ngā Kārere. So in saying that, from the year I was there, 74, 5, 6, 7, that I stayed there until I was transferred. I was a young trainee working for the railways as a signal maintainer, and I transferred back to Taumaranui to get closer to home in 78. And saying that, just before I left, what I do remember is that him attending one of the very first indigenous hui. So a kōrero that got back to us way back then was that from especially those elderly ones that were from that were involved with martial arts, the kōrero was said to go home and teach martial arts in your language so that your language doesn't die. That's all I remember. By then I had left and I was now in Taumaranui, but still keeping in contact with the team in Wellington. What I did find out that that same year, now if a lot of us back then, around 78, 79 was the same year that the Kohanga Reo movement was about to start. It was all about to start happening. I mean, you have people like Iritana, I've got to go backwards in my head now, Puki Tapu. I'm only 17, 18, and these names just used to go over my head because I didn't even know who they were. But they were way up there. And it was all regarding to our reo, te reo, me ona tikanga, all those sorts of things. And that was all happening around the same time. Now, around about the same time, to my understanding, is that Uncle Tau had come up with this name and had put it forward to the Konihira, which was around Petone, Wellington area. And the name was born, Whanake Rangataua, meaning basically the warriors of the nights coming in from the night into the world of light. So that was when Whanake Rangataua was born. Just pull me up, Justin, if I'm talking too much. From there...
I'm just, can you, yeah, we've been, can't see your face.
Oh.
So I was just going to jump in there, Uncle, if we could, I just see our time ticking away.
Yep.
Kia ora. Are we able to kind of look towards that emergence of Akka from Whanake Rangataua? And then I'll,
yeah, okay.
Then I'll
okay.
start into to that space.
Okay, so from there, okay, there was Whanake Rangataua. And the club had another change. They did a world tour. There is a book written, it's called Whanake Rangataua. Just go to your local library, you'll find it in there. From there, another club was born from after the world tour, which was ROA, Rangataua o Aotearoa. And these were my, well, to me, they were my two Hoi brothers, the Marshall family. John Marshall, Sam Marshall, Philip Marshall, David Marshall, and the youngest one I met was Lukey Marshall. And of course, these are the uncles of young Benji Marshall. Yeah, so I'm saying that, you know, these were our, his tour, our state tour, because they were. And then kei ta muhi o ia rātou ni reo era me I taua. Back in those days, they would just speak like they were at home. And you could see, yeah, there was a lot of things going on in our minds that, you know, those of us that couldn't speak, wish we could speak. But anyway, that didn't come for years later. From there, Rangataua Aotearoa was born. Okay, that moved on through the years, and so what I'm saying is that you had that, yeah. So Whanake Rangataua went one way, and Rangataua Aotearoa went another way. Now, so I'm going through the years pretty quickly due to time. 1990 is when the Akka was born, pretty much. And why was it 1990? Because Uncle Tau was returning back to Whanganui. He had done his time in Wellington from the early or late 60s right through to 1990s. And I know that there were a lot of younger ones my age, older, some that came after me that even stayed with him. and you know, grew up with him, was nurtured by him, all those sort of things. So mihi tēnā te ki rātou rā. And it was at that same time when it was due for him to come home, the Akka program was put together. The Akka program was put together in Petone at that time he was a Shihan. Shihan Martin Sterling from Whānau Apanui. This is where that program was put together by Uncle Tahu, who did on the kōrero. He put all the kōrero together, and by his toa, John Marshall, Luke Marshall, our cousin Chanel Hami from Ruaka Rānana, and those, quite a few of them. But they just put it all together, and then 1991, October-ish, it was brought to Wanganui. And that's when it all happened. Justin, kōrero mai.
Kia ora, Uncle. Nah, appreciate you sharing that kōrero. And I know for a lot of us here at home, we all have fond memories of korotahu. I'm even getting messages as you kōrero, Uncle, like beautiful history. We probably need a whole nother wānanga as well after this. So appreciate the sharing, and just my own experience in the world of Akka. It probably all began for me a couple years later in terms of when you started bringing Akka into te koro kukuhuia. So for me, yeah, it might have been those mid-90s-ish, sometime around there when Akka was first introduced to myself. And it seems like I've gone through phases in my own life where, yeah, Akka was with me at kura, lived a little bit. You found us again at Te Ranga Tūkaha at our polysport course. So got back into the Akka space there, moved on again. I became kai whakahaere at Heoranga Potama. I was working at Awa Sport at the time. So again, and that's when I really, that one-on-one training we had, Uncle, and I really connected with Akka on a personal level at that time. So just wanted to acknowledge all the mahi you've put into it and everything you've shared. And now here we are. And Akka's still a big part of my life. It's helped me in my own health and well-being, my own healing in different spaces, more connecting with my own self, spiritually, mentally and physically. And all of that is huge benefits to our whānau. So now feeling privileged to start sharing what I've been taught in different spaces, whether it's in a workspace in terms of self-care, whether it's in our kura, like we did back in the days, or just still with myself at the beach or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey, this Akka kaupapa. And for those watching at home who are familiar with Akka, you will probably know a lot what we're talking about. If this is a bit of an introduction to Akka, here's a bit of a kōrero in terms of Akka ko wai koe. So who are you? Who are you, Akka? So from some of the writings we have, Akka is basically fitness, it is health, it's about culture, and it's Pacific. So all these different things kind of culminate together in a Mātai Tuarangi space that kind of, is the underlying philosophy. So it's many years of research to develop, drawing on a broad expanse of Māori history. So we're talking everything, like our Māori history, cosmology, navigation, migration, rongoā, martial arts, hunting, fishing, conservation, and the environment. So everything we hold dear as Māori, these are the essence of Akka, I suppose. So I know we all love different parts of the Māori world. So it's this culmination, all of that coming together, and what was born and named was Akka. Now, what is Akka? For us up the Wanganui River, well, it's born out of Tāne Mahuta. So the Akka vine links us up to Ranginui, back to Papatuanuku, and it links into ourself as well. So it joins all those things together. And like I said, up the Whanganui River is plentiful. I'm sure it still is today. And our tupuna used it, and our whānau still use it to build things like hinaki, arawhata, ladders. A lot of our tupuna back in the day lived on the high cliffs on the upper reaches of the Whanganui River. So these ladders were built, some up to, what is it, quarter of a mile long, however long that is. I've seen the cliffs and it's high. So these ladders, and basically, you know, the Akka vine, I think it's called a supplejack. Is that right? Supplejack. Because it's really flexible and it's durable. So, you know, you can bend it and make all these different things, but it won't break. So I think Korotahu and the people who are around him, thought that was a real great reflection of us as a people. That whole concept of Akka and why it was named that. I know Akka is based on whakaaro and Mātauranga Māori, but it's actually, you know, like we said, born out of the Pacific. We came to Aotearoa, our tupuna journeyed here. And certain excellence, I mentioned that earlier in my live this morning. We had a hui last night online, and the brother Paura from Te Arawa said, you know, our tupuna always strive for excellence, and that's what Akka is all about, in our pursuit of excellence. Akka is one of those pathways to excellence. And as our tupuna sat in Hawaii thinking, this is awesome, but there's more out there, there's greatness out there for us. So they make the journey all the way through the biggest ocean of the world. I think it's the biggest ocean of the world. You know, talked to all our tupuna along the way and made it here to Aotearoa, and here we are in Māori. So Akka is actually an international kaupapa. Born out of as Māori for the whole world. And the unique thing about it is it can cater to all our whānau. You know, our tamariki can get in there, which I love seeing the whānau doing it at home with their whānau during this rāhui. That's been such an uplifting thing to see. I know how much it's helped myself, so to share that and see other whānau who have done it before, or it's their first time doing it together with their kids, that's just amazing. And right up to our kaumātua as well. Just before the rāhui kicked in, I started a kaumātua group. Well, I didn't start the group, actually. They run the show, our kaumātua. I was privileged enough to enter their space, and they all do it on their turu. Some might just sit there, meditate and have a good feel. Some do the moves, and so I've really seen it, from our tamariki. Rangatahi, of course, I've used it with our rangatahi. They can really connect in different spaces, right up to our kaumātua. So, Ana, kōrero.
Hea te whakaaro o te hononga o tēnei kaupapa ki te. As to our kaupapa.
Yeah, brother Aroha mai, I think your voice cut off.
E mihi atana kia korua, ko te pātai e pāna ki ngā pepi. So you've talked about tamariki whānau and our kaumātua. Is there a specific component of this kaupapa that might be linked to our pepi, our pepi paupau, hiki ana, ngauki ana, at the early stages?
I know for a lot of us, whatever the group is, we can definitely cater to that group. We can, adapt and adjust. If it's not the full-on program, we can definitely take elements. I know the likes of our other chiefs who have carried it, like Uncle Leroy Matthews and them, have always made it available. What do you think about our babies, Uncle Piripi?
So just before I answer that question, I just wanted to just share also regarding the Akka Kōai Koe. So there was also the other part that it's not really talked about much, and it was all about that the sort of the wairua side of the Akka was, and you brought it up, Justin, was regarding to the Akka vine. or supplejack also being the umbilical cord between Ranginui and Papatuanuku. So I tried to just ko tēnā te ahua wairua, e pārle ki o nehera, ngā atua te pō, e rame, kore. So and now getting back to where e pārle ki ngā tamariki nohi o e pepe, e kōungo i te wā, e kawe atonu ngā whaia i roto te puku. Ko tērā ki au nei, ahua o riti ki te kohanga reo. I te wā he ako te pepe, ki te ako te pepe i te wā i roto tōna puku, ne. So, ahua o riti ki te aka. Nā uki mai mahara i te wā i Wanganui, i ari au ki etihi o ngā kohanga reo, ko te tuatai ko tūtara moana. Auntie cousin Whaia Martha Thompson, I went to her kohanga reo and introduced Akka there for our tamariki mokopuna. So it was all about just doing things on the ground and having a lot of good time, good fun. So it can be done. It can be done, and it and like I'm saying, I taua wā, everyone was just starting ki te ako tō taua nei reo rangatira. Okay. So I knew there's going to be a big gap before there's actually some, and then plus that we would have to have put this program together to start grading and teaching so that you can go into kohanga reo to teach the program. However, it didn't happen. Aroha mai. So I hope that answers your question. Te kai waka haere.
E wahi tonu mō tērā kaupapa ki tōnei whakaro? Do you think there's still an opportunity for that kaupapa to...
Oh, aye, ana. Yes, we will talk about it, Justin.
Ana, aye, ka tika, for sure.
So, and just kōrero, korua, mai tētahi. Akka is international, first time being shared globally on social media platform. How were you able to get past whanganui kaiponu with this taonga? Was there anyone you had to ask, or do you feel that it is the right time and the support was there now? I think it is. I remember we couldn't even record anything.
Aye.
Justin, about the opportunity to be sharing it on a scale like this. It is such a taonga.
Definitely. No, I love that pātai. It's something I've discussed internally for a long time, and I know. On one hand, the kōrero says it black and white, that this kaupapa must be accessible to our people. And it's, like I said before, it's written here too, it is an international kaupapa. And then on the other hand, it is such a taonga that is, that's been specific to us as Wanganui and our rohe here. That it has been something we have shared amongst ourselves, I suppose. I suppose I've had a vision of seeing it go wider, as long as we're able to protect the integrity of this taonga. At this space right now, during this rahui, I've seen a lot of tohunga and other experts out there sharing a lot of knowledge and kōrero and kaupapa that I thought maybe this is a right time, and this is probably one of the reasons why I really wanted Uncle Piripi on here tonight. I mentioned Uncle Gerard Albert at the start. He's I would love him to be here tonight to kōrero, but maybe that's for another time. He's a busy man with our iwi. And he said, "Hāpai, bro, use kōrero, share the kaupapa." So for me to have the blessings of Matua Piripi, Uncle Gerard, and like I said before, Uncle Leroy, who have all said, "Bro, do the mahi." It has been a space, not that I'm scared of it, but it's it's something we've definitely talked about. So it is the right time, I feel. What I've put out there so far is probably quite a lot than whatever's been seen. I know I've shared. You invited me to the Toi Tangata Hui this year, bro. Sharing that to a lot of people, and they're like, bro, I loved your Akka, man. I've been searching YouTube and the internet. Where can I find Akkas? Like, mate, you're probably not going to find anything online. You know, Anna, and even over the last couple of years, I've started sharing little bits of my Akka journey. Not the whole hakari worth, but just little bite sizes to ensure we're able to still protect it. But yeah, I think it is a right time, and I think it's a right time for us here in Wanganui to start the wānanga as well, start kōrero amongst ourselves. I know there's a lot of people who carry this kaupapa, so that's one vision for me, progressing into the future, is getting that wānanga going. How do we share this kaupapa around the world? Well, you know, around the motu at least. But, you know, going live on Facebook, man, that's straight out to the world now. And I've got cousins in America and mates in Canada and people and Oz, like, whoa, this is cool, bro. So, yeah, I suppose that's something I've still got to be mindful of too.
Te pātai anō tā te tahi e hoa. Mihi ana kia koe mō mahi. The pātai is around how are you finding the online space with sharing the wairua component, for lack of better expression?
Ooh, it's been a huge challenge, to be honest, because yeah, Akka and wairua, you know, it's everything, and I definitely feel something between myself and whoever's watching. You know, you're staring at the screen now. I can't even see who's there. You know, you might see some names pop up. Quick mihi if I see it. I know that the Māori is strong within Akka, so as long as we're presenting it and practicing it in a real tika and pono way, I feel the wairua flows, and that's been reflected back in our whānau telling us how they feel. They're saying they can feel the wairua, even though it's through this means. This is totally new to us. Normally, like, we'll be with matua piripi in the whare waka tautau, all in a group, and that's just something as Māori, you know, we're so used to face and rōpū coming together, doing the mahi. So in that sense, yeah, it's definitely been a challenge. I feel like I've been able to get through that a little bit better as the weeks have gone on, and I've been able to share a bit more.
Yeah, as a participant in some of your online wānanga e hoa, I think I've seen you know, a development in terms of the expression and the wairua that you're demonstrating to us. You know, you're in a totally different wāhi, but you can sort of feel it even through the screen. You know, ka kite koe me tō āhua, ka rongo te wairua I roto I tērā hoki. So I think, you know, you talk about the kaupapa of Akka and what its roots were from, the supplejack, and how it's able to be durable. This rahui has been a big test of that, you know, mo te iwi Māori katoa. You know, a big influence or a big whakaro that people should be thinking about when we are thinking about this online space and how we've had to adapt. We've been adapting for years. Man, and, you know, we're still here.
Yep, tautoko, bro. We adapt real quick. Yeah, I feel like, you know, those first times we went live, I don't know, the following was huge. You know, heaps of people jumped in because, oh, what's this? Or people who knew what it is, like, choice, bro, thanks for sharing. So over the weeks, like you say, the wairua, how I'm presenting, I'm feeling a lot more confident to do it in this space. And the rōpū's kind of, I'm not going to say come down to a core group, but it's definitely those ones who really want to get into it again, have really engaged consistently. So that's something really cool in terms of that. So,
Aye,
yeah,
aye.
just before I carry on, just wanted to talk real quick about the Akka system itself. And you might want to jump in with me here, Uncle. There's 3 parts to the Akka program. So what we're sharing is Akka itself. So the health and fitness program that was developed. Maira no. Learning the moves. You know, there's music to it, or you can do it out in the environment. There's all those types of things with Akka. There's also the Māori martial arts side, or te Hāpai too. So that's the actual, like I say, the martial arts side, based on the coming together of the traditional martial arts, and also incorporating our Māori martial arts, our maurako, taiaha, patu, and all those types of things as well. And of course, that's all embodied by our tikanga Māori. So that's a huge part of it. And I know, going through gradings with you, Uncle, there's definitely the physical side. Whoa, the physical, really testing the tinana. The hinengaro side, so even, you know, doing the test, what's it called, whakamatoto? Oh, whakamatoto, even a bit of a test, you know, learning the kōrero, and putting that on paper. There's also, you know, the tikanga side in terms of delivering your pepeha or your whakaaro Māori. So, yeah, there's those different layers to Akka. So if you got anything to mention on that side, Uncle?
Kore tēnei kia koe o kia Justin. So just to let people out there know that I had to take Justin through at least 30 to 40 hours of training before I saw he was ready. And it wasn't just about being ready, it was the actual hours that he had to put in for the actual Whakaputa, the actual training, the actual grading, which started pretty much 2:30 in the morning, and it didn't finish until lunchtime. So that's the sort of, you want to get to where he is, that's what you got to go through. and I don't say that being wakaiti or anything. I'm saying that now you need to understand, and so whatever your wakaaro is, put it on the if you're listening. So how I started to see the Akka program, this is after 20 years of training it, I saw and felt something else. Then I started to really understand what Uncle Tahu was talking about. You had to, and we knew, and we were already doing it in our Wanganuitanga. But we are only doing it when we go as a Hatu tribe iwi. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about when Justin done his wakaputa, all the wakaaro come out was, why are we getting up at 2:30? And I said, I'll tell you why. Because we're going to make our way to the awa. And that's where we're going in first. We're all going down to the awa. We're going to have ruruku karakia there, and we're going to sprinkle ourselves. And what was that all about? It was all part of being part of Rangi Nui, and Papa Tuanuku was still down. If you know, we're in Iroto Te Pō in the night. And you could feel te tāwiri, te hau a tāwiri matia on your face, on your body. All those sort of things. Our little journey to Te Paku o Te Rangi. I had to get in touch with my cousin, Hori Tamiana. Aroha, my cousin, will be at Marae about 3:30 in the morning. Oh, what are you up to? Oh, we just go for a grading. Okay. And we're out in Te Paku o Te Rangi at 3:30 in the morning doing our incantations, or just bowing, doing the oa to the tupuna ware there. And then our next move was to go to the Urupa. I think that was a little bit scary. Why are we going there, Uncle? I said, that is where Rongoā Māori is buried, Uncle Tahu himself. We went there to pay acknowledgement to him. And then the training started. Okay, Justin can tell the rest because he done it.
Yeah, no, we just kept running and running and running.
Is that kaupapa ko tuhia era ture? Or are these kaupapa that just ko tākoha tia mai tētahi pau, mai tētahi manukura ki tētahi atu?
Taiao, can I just quickly answer this? So I actually asked Uncle Tahu back in 1991, 2, 3. In 1992, I asked him, Taiao ki tako matu, I said, Uncle, pēhea tō wakaroa ki te whakariti he taumata. Aho riti ki grading. E nāna I kore ki ai, mohi o koe, mahia. You know what you're doing, do it. So that was his kōrero. And so I put the Akka grading system together. And yeah, very similar, but not Japanese, not Chinese. He te ao Māori, te ao Māori. So yes, and those two. So I know it's another part, but you start off as a PIA, P-I-A. If you look in the Oxford Williams Dictionary, you'll see it. It is a learned student of the historic law, L-O-R-E, not L-A-W. Okay, so that's what you become. That's what you are at first when you start, PIA, and then after you've done your hours, and then you're tested to the next level, which is manukura pore, trainee instructor. And then after you've done your years, and with other things that you have to do, and then you go to manukura, and then to pauwhenua. So pauwhenua, I've been involved with 30 years next year, 30 years within the Akka program. So but like I say to Justin, there's e nui ake ngā wakaro kai roto te ao. Tikina, right? Kawea, wakaro hi, e noho ki te wānanga kōrero. So there's always something. I said, don't listen to what I'm saying. Actually, I stopped listening to a lot of the readings of uncles because it needed to be how to kupu. It needed to be revised. It needed to be, more things needed to be added on. But what I do want to say, what was put together way back in 1990, and it didn't get to Wānangahia to 91. That was something that was put together that he was 20 to even 30 years ahead of the whole iwi. I'll have to say that. Very, very proud of Uncle. And even Gerard knew. Even Gerard knew that way back then. I said, look, you can, if we could way back then, I was even trying to work out how we can just do a Māori focused group of just Akka to train up tutors to go into kohanga reo, kura kaupapa, whare wānanga, kaumātua, tararara. But it didn't happen.
I was just going to jump in there, Unc, and talk about that grading wānanga we did, how we had the whānau, we stayed together, we learnt the kōrero together, we had a quick blink and then we were up again to start the kaupapa. And from my experience, Akka is based on our ancient genealogy or our Whakapapa as Māori, our journey through ngā pō, ki te ao marama to the world of light. So the best time I know for us to engage in this process is in the darkness, do the mahi, let the sun come up, boom. That's te ara hauora for me. That pathway to health is really, and being a morehu as well from Rātana, it's all about the maramatanga, it's all about living in the light. So that's had its own challenges for me in my own journey, but I find we had to get to that maramatanga, to that enlightenment somehow, and for me, Akka is that clear pathway. We've always been brought up morehu as Rātana, so this is a pathway for me to kind of understand where I'm coming from, I suppose.
It links really well to the pātai that's come through Ehua. So tētahi pātai anō, just thinking about kaimahi and hauora, or any sector who wish to learn kaupapa like this but may find it difficult to integrate it. In terms of integrating it into their learning and practice for their mahi. So how have you navigated learning and advancing yourself in Akka while in mahi, and then integrating it into your mahi? I think you've been in quite a lucky position, Ehua, to have this input wide into the way that you deliver your kaupapa in your mahi space.
Yeah, like I say, it's been such a big part of my life. It's just naturally I find ways that I can incorporate it. Been in such an array of mahi, whether it's health, education, research, back in the sports space now. I don't know. It's just something I know is adaptable, that we can use in any space. But I think it's how we create tools and resources to allow other kaimahi in their workspace to do so as well, especially if you're just learning. We got to come up with some creative ways to do that, support. I know we need to look after ourselves too, matua, because all of that time and energy we put out there, you know, online at the moment, putting our energy out there, or whether we're taking groups when rahui's over, we put a lot of energy out there into it, so it's ensuring our own well-being as well. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I think that's where the wānanga, that's where the kōrero needs to head, really. Yeah, how do we support more people into the space? I think we could definitely find ways to train up other trainers. I know that's definitely a goal of mine, and hopefully with the whānau here at home and abroad, that we can find those ways to do that. So yeah, no, that's a brilliant pātai.
Yeah, that leads in really well to a couple of other pātai that have come through here. So there was one talking about, are you looking at more gradings, or more grading wānanga, or developing another whanake rangataua? And how could this be implemented into kura, like Te Kura o Kokohuia, who practice akka every week? You know, it's probably something in that space. There's actually two pātai that have come through that are quite similar, so I might ask them together. So this one is also about, have you thought about aligning this kaupapa with educational pathways at tertiary level? So we're thinking about kura and at tertiary, and what grading and other kaupapa might look like in this space.
Cool. Yeah, see, here's the discussion started already, bro, so appreciate the platform, bro. This is what we needed. And yeah, how do we do that?
I just like to quickly say that maybe the next show, if we do have another one, I'd like to bring on Manukura Bernadine Minihira. He's part of it with Te Kura o Kokohuia, and I know that she would share quite a bit here, because being a teacher for over 20 plus years, it has been implemented at Te Kura o Kokohuia, where Justin was educated at, and it'd be better if she talks. So, kia koe takutua hine, no te kōrero mai.
And I know I talked to Whaia Bernie before the rahui down at Pākai Tore, and she was talking about this holidays coming over to Aussie by you, Uncle, to go through another wakaputa, so we can progress our own learning and our ability to teach as well. And I told her, oh, Auntie, I'm coming too. I really have been yearning for that. When you left, Wanganui Matua is a big thing for me personally. We were going deep. And then you said, here's Akka Mawui. So to hear that kōrero, Rahui's obviously challenged us in that space, but you know, maybe this type of forum. I know you've shared your trainings and what you're going to do with Maurako and Akka at the moment too, Uncle. So those are all things I think, we can have the discussions here at home and with other experts abroad too, to develop such resources.
Ana, tika tau. All right, kia ora. To add on.
Yeah, we got a minute.
Okay. Well, have we?
He pātai anō pia hei tata koe tēnei wahanga. He hao kuru e whakaro mō ngā tūmanako me ki o tēnei kaupapa I roto I o Toi Ake upoko me ki. So what are your own personal thoughts of where the next stages for Akka are? You know, so we've talked about tertiary, we've talked about kura, and we've talked about growing this kaupapa. Justin and koe hoki matua, what do you think is possibly one of the next steps that needs to happen in this space. I mean, our part 2 of this kaupapa I roto I te Toi Ako is one possibility, but you know, what other things might you be thinking about?
Yeah, I've definitely been thinking about what's next. I think this is the space I've slowly been walking into for the last couple of years, I feel. Like I say, it's always been a big part of my life when I've been able to turn to, when I've, you know, needed something to uplift me. You know, there's always our hahi, our whakapikiora, always to uplift ourselves. Also, connection with the Taiao, but Akka has been that something that I can do that actually, yeah, gets me into that space. And just starting to be confident enough to step out of that, and people seeing what we're doing and asking, hey, can you come and start sharing that? So just the fact people ask for it, I tend to go and tautoko that. I'm not one to say, put it out there, say, hey, Akka, come and join in. That's kind of the space I've been in terms of that. But I've been thinking for a while, just to contact a lot of people here at home who have a lot of deep knowledge of Akka, the likes of Matua Piripi and Sister Fire Bernie and all the whānau we've mentioned, and there's many others as well, to start some type of wānanga. I might have talked about it just before, just to get us talking about what Akka means to us and where it's headed for the future. I don't think it's a decision I'll make right now, but just to put that out there, that I'd love to start the wānanga after this.
Hāpai. I mean, you know, there's an opportunity for this kaupapa. So koutou mā, you know, tuned in. He pai kia rongo i o koutou ne whakaro. So if you were to share a little bit more about what your aspirations might be for where Akka might be, it might, you know, provide a little guidance to where this kaupapa can go to. So I encourage you at the end of this webinar to fill out the evaluation kaupapa and talk a little bit more about the things that you think might be beneficial for yourselves. Otira mo tēnei kaupapa o Akka. It's definitely a space, I think, kua tino hono kia ngai Māori. He hanga whakaro korua mō rātou ngā iwi take rereke. Or, you know, what's your thoughts on Akka being something that can support those who are not Māori?
What do you think, Akka?
Kia ai nei, ai. Ai tēne uaua o tauara tangata. Ki te waka ako. Kia ai nei la. So, you know, its strength is kai roto te ao Māori, te ao koatu, te ao tauito. And so he or she would know that if it's not where they should be, they'll know. I can't say it any other way.
Well, behind that pātai matua, I think, is tira pia etahi o ngā whakaro mō rātou mā kai anō ko ako te reo rangatira, those who have yet to learn te reo, and how they're able to still continue to be a part of this kaupapa. I think you do an awesome job, Justin, from what I've seen in terms of being, you know, having a real inclusive process of this kaupapa, I roto I tēnei kaupapa. So it's sort of just, you know, starting to ponder those who have the passion to possibly pursue it. You know, we have a lot of whānau who are in all of the reo classes. 80% of those reo classes might not be Māori, tangata Māori, but he ngākau Māori te whakaro, and they're willing to be a part of that kaupapa. So, te whakaro.
Yeah, and definitely what I was saying. You know, like our kaupapa Māori, you know, our culture and stuff. Yeah, the depths and the understanding is within our reo, within those teachings of our matua tupuna. So to really get the true health and fitness benefits out of it, yeah, you definitely need to be coming from a deep whakaaro Māori space. And saying that, I know sharing with people of other cultures or non-Māori, there's still something that they connect to, whatever that is for them. They have their own feeling of what wairua is, or those types of things. They might not understand what we're saying, but they can still feel different things too. But it's, yeah, there's a depth to it that I think is only unlocked by understanding not just our reo, but our tikanga, and actually living that, because Akka, yep, although it's a mahi we do with our body that helps our hinengaro, our wairua, it's also about our interactions with whānau, with our iwi, on the marae, all those types of things come into play too. It's, yep, there is the physical side, yep, get a good sweat up in the morning, but then there's the rest of your life too, eh? So it's really living in a te ao Māori way in that type of space. So I feel for me, my father's Pākehā, my mum's Māori, so I'm juggling that in myself every single day. It just so happens the influence of mum and our Māori side is so strong. Our whānau is so connected. That's definitely been a huge part of life. And I learned that Whakapapa as well, which is really important to me. My Austrian descent, you know, many there's Māori names out there as Justin Gush, so you know, just what makes us who we are, you know, our Whakapapa, understanding that if you're confident in your Whakapapa and you know yourself, and you can find a little thing, some healing out of Akka, I think Hāpai. How we do that on a bigger scale, yeah, that's a whole another wānanga too.
Ana, tika tau, tuku tō kōrero hoa. Justin, I think I heard you mention the name Whanake Rangatawa or something, going back just before we got into this kōrero. So just making, because you know, for me regarding Whanake Rangatawa, that was my cousin Charles Tukotahi Mārei could have been the senior instructor of Whanake Rangatawa, and you know, unfortunately, because after he passed over, a lot of the local clubs from the Kāhui Maunga all the way to Whanganui had actually stopped, which were run by our nephews, and but for me was a bit very tino moki au, that you know, because of his death, the clubs had stopped, and yeah, they went in pursuit of other things. So
Tai te wahe whakahihiko I tērā ne mate. Time to kick it back off again.
Aye. Well, yes, they are still back home. I know that. And if they're listening, well.
Yeah, I know. I know for myself, like I haven't grown up like yourself, being immersed in the martial arts space. So I've had a bit of a during our times at our Te Rangatukaha, had a bit of a jam in the Shaolin space. A bit of a tutu in the Muay Thai type of space. Nothing to head into the ring or nothing, but just to kind of activate that part of us. And that's definitely something after this that I'm going to explore myself. I know people have come to me to say, come and train with us. So, and then maybe we can share Akka in that type of space. Also the Maurako, you know, that's something that I really feel like I'd love to connect with. I've thought about that for years and just how to go about that. So to see what you're still doing in that space, Uncle, that those are the real things personally to uplift my own Akka experience, I suppose, is the space I'm going to head into personally. But just this platform tonight to kōrero, to share a little bit about Akka, I know we can write a whole book and put a documentary series on Netflix or something with the amount of kōrero and history and deep kōrero in terms of the tikanga side of it as well. But yeah, just big ups, brother, for giving us this platform. Even this rāhui has given me a space and uncle to kind of reconnect over the phone and the video to call. So we had a couple phone calls over the last couple of weeks, and we're just going to wānanga mode. So I know of all the kino out there with this rāhui. There's been some great opportunities that it's opened up as well, and how we come through this on the other side, I think is going to be an exciting space. However that looks, it's up to us. So we just got to remember, we got the mana moving forward. So hopefully we can all come together and make that happen.
Hāpai. Ka tira mihi atu ana kia kōrua, otira kia tātou. We've gone a little bit over time, and ari pai nui ho tēnā, he momo wānanga tēnei kaupapa. Nō reira mihi atu ana kia koutou i Wānangatahi, ki tō tātou nei taha me ki, mo tēnei taha. Just on behalf of Toi Tangata, mihi atu ana kia kōrua ngā kai kōrero, otira kia tātou i huhu mai nei. So just from here, ko te hihia noiho, if you guys are able to fill out a bit of the evaluation so you can kōrero a little bit more about this kaupapa. And what we'll do is we'll put a part 2 in the works and think about how this kaupapa can flourish a little bit more koutou mā. So as you guys registered, you'll receive an email in terms of how the evaluation will come through to you. What will also be in there will be a couple of links to a couple of spaces. One will be a web page, and one will also be a Facebook link to Ngāti Apa, nera iwa.
That's a good way to contact us in the mahi space, or just give us a holler on the Facebook chat.
And mā tērā ka taia te kite te whakatinana. So if you haven't seen it in action, now's your opportunity to get amongst it and get into that page there.
Just before you finish, we're going live Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. Everyone watching is probably the whānau anyway, but...
Mihi atu ana kia koutou te whānau. Kia pai te toinga o te pō. Everybody have a good evening, and we'll see you at the next Toi Ako webinar. Mauri ora tātou.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Tēnā koutou. Ai.